Hi, friends, and welcome to an episode of M&M Hour with our dear friend Mandy Slutsker. Hi, Mandy.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you? You've been a traveling gal. You've been all over the place.
I know, and I'm like super sweaty, so I put my hair back. I was at a 2-year-old's birthday party in a park for multiple hours this morning.
And how was that?
It was so fun.
Aww.
So fun.
That's amazing.
There's like a little stream, and all the kids like put their feet in, and we're looking for rocks and
Aww.
whatever kids do. And then I got back and walked Stassi, and so I've just been like in the sun.
Well, you don't look like you've been in the sun. You have that beautiful porcelain skin of yours. Well, you're talking to another ghost sister because you cannot tell it's summer out. I am white as a sheet. But you know, the one thing I want to say about you, Mandy, is that every time I hear about you're doing something to like celebrate other people's children. And I just want to take a moment for all the aunties, godmamas, all the childless women who get short shrift, but spend a lot of their time loving other people's kids. Kudos to you, Mandy. Kudos to you.
And it's so fun. So is my niece, but also like I know all her friends and I know all the like family friends because I'm here all the time. And you know, it's so fun to watch them all grow up. And like summer in Minnesota is just magical. And so like you can tell like all the kids are just like running outside all the time, like getting dirty, up really late, you know. I love that.
Yeah. And I know Minnesota's a little bit different, but growing up in Downers Grove, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, it's like our childhood was in the Midwest. You rode bikes, you stayed out until the sun went down, and then that's how you knew to go home. You played capture the flag and all these things. So I think a Midwest upbringing, I don't know. I love a Midwest summer. I love a Midwest, just period. And I'm actually going to be going there in August, and I cannot wait. Not Minnesota, Chicago.
Oh, I'll be back in August.
Hopefully we can link up.
I'm all over the place.
I know you
DC
really are
right now, but that's good.
No, literally. Yes, you do. And so today, Mandy and we have averted disaster multiple times today. Okay, first of all, your girl lives in the woods, and whoever planned the city that I live in, whoever was the city planner, decided to put the power wires in trees. They are in trees, like in them. So whenever people hear trim trees and then they make a mistake, hundreds of people are without power for a long time, which is what just happened to me. But fortunately, it came back on just in time to podcast with our girl, and I was like, Phew. So today, what Mandy and I are going to be talking about is Real Housewives of Rhode Island, a reunion part 1, because now on Mandy's podcast, Is This Real Life with Mandy Slutsker, we are going to talk about basically everything else.
There's so much Rhode Island stuff.
There honestly is so much, and I have barely covered it. So I was like, and I just love how we work because your internet was having an issue. I didn't have power. We worked both things out, and we're just texting like, what do you want to cover? What do you want to cover? It took 2 seconds. It was the easiest thing in the world. Podcasting with you is just so wonderful and easy, and I just love it. So thank you.
I love it too.
But you're right. So with Real Housewives of Rhode Island, I was watching part 1 and I was like, oh, we could talk about this literally for 45 minutes. It was so wild. So let us get into it because holy moly. I want to get your thoughts from the jump. Now that the first season of RHORI is over, reunion part 1, and I know another season has already been picked up. What do you think about Real Housewives of Rhode Island overall?
So I think it was an incredible first season, possibly the best first season we've ever had of any Real Housewives show. When something like that, like magic occurs, nobody should get fired. And I can't stand when people are like, get rid of Rulla, get rid of Rosie, get rid of whoever. I'm like, no, they all come back. They did great. And I think the dynamics are really interesting. And so there's some like unlikely duos I could imagine. I could see Kelsey and Rosie actually getting to know each other and liking each other.
You could?
I really do. I think Kelsey needs to get over some stuff and like realize that she's never going to outsmart Rosie. And she needs to let go of this idea that she like knows more about Rosie. Like you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. I think Jo-Ellen and Ashley could be really good friends. I think I'm not really sure about Liz. I'm not sure where Liz goes from here. That's the only one that's a toughie. But I could see Rulla and others getting along if she could just like be a little more consistent.
Or participate at all. Because here's my beef. It's like, I agree with what you said, with the exception of Rula. It's like, if you're a first season housewife and you're already picking and choosing when you're going to film because you're embarrassed about what's going on with your husband, to me, you have to pick a lane. You cannot come back and be a 3-session Sally or a 3-season Sally or 3-episode Sally or whatever it is. You just can't do it. And honestly, too, what pissed me off about Rula, it's like we heard more from her in this reunion part 1 than we heard from her all season. And it's like, bitch, where have you been?
She needs to recalibrate a bit. She like underdid it on the season and overdid it the reunion.
Yes.
And so she just needs to like recalibrate. I think when she watches herself on screen, maybe she will realize that she's like over talking everyone. We can't hear her. It's making Jo-Ellen yell because Jo-Ellen wants to get her point across and she never she's getting her point across. All of it's kind of annoying, and hopefully she'll figure it out. But Rula's an interesting one. Like, she's full on I'm trying to find the right word. Like, it's almost like she's falling apart because she held it together so tightly. And in my view, I think it's, so we found out during one of the confessionals that she had been married previously and gotten divorced. And there's clearly a lot of shame associated with that for her. And now she's married to, Brian, and they have 2 children, this perfect life, quote unquote. And he has disrespected her in such a huge way over and over and over again. But she can't let go of the marriage because for her failing twice and being divorced twice, the amount of shame that she has for that is so great. And so she cannot allow that to be the thing. I think he was banking on her leaving him. And
I agree.
So
I believe that man fully did not believe that this woman would hang on for dear life. I think you were completely right about that. And now he's like, what do? I cannot get rid of, I can't screw up my way out of this,
Yep.
Which is essentially what he was trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very interesting to watch. They can't get rid of her. It's just an interesting thing to watch. It's a man who thought he could get rid of his wife. And she's like, nope, you can't get rid of me. And so I think he's going to go 10 toes down and say, okay, we're going to make this work. And she's going to forgive me for the 100th time. And we're all going to watch. And it's, and she has to own it. She has to own her decisions. She has to own what he's done, unfortunately.
Right. And that's my she cannot do that. She can't, won't, isn't capable at this point. Now, here's the thing. You and I are recording this before part 2 of the reunion airs.
Yes.
So, for everyone listening, do not worry. I will be covering part 2 of the reunion on my own because I need to know what comes out of this man's mouth or doesn't. He seems like a West. He seems like a guy who's going to not have a lot to say at the reunion and then have a lot to say outside of it. But what do I know? And I'm shocked by Rula. Here's what I see clinically is I see someone who's spinning out because of anxiety.
I'm wondering, she seemed, I do think she was ill during the season. I really do believe something happened. I also think she maybe have overplayed it, but I'm having a lot of memories of this time last year. You and I were podcasting and I was sick and you were telling me, you sound really bad.
Yeah.
I kept on being like, oh, I'm okay. And I was Kleenex and everything.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was in the hospital with pneumonia. And that was definitely the result of me dealing with a lot of emotional stuff at the time and my body shutting down. And I do believe that she might have experienced something where her body was shutting down because of, and she looks like she hasn't eaten much. I mean, the amount of stress, maybe she's microdosing Ozempic like her husband, who knows? But I do think that she was very unwell. And
I think it was psychosomatic because of Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, when my grandfather died, I had the worst autoimmune flare of my life. So I was grieving while on steroids and there was nothing I could do about it. And I just think that there are a lot of trauma books about how our bodies hold emotions, right? Our mind and our body is one. They're not 2 separate pathways. And so when we feel a lot of intense emotions, it's very common to have a real illness, but coming from a psychosomatic place, meaning a mental health or a some sort of issue. So I believe that about Rulla to be true because her husband is a virus, and I'm sure he did make her a little bit sick. A virus named Brian. I'm I'm not kidding. I'm like, that man is a virus named Brian, and I can't. So yes, I think that's part of it. But what bums me out so much about Rulla is that she has, and I understand it. I want to explain what I think is happening. I believe she has a lot of misdirected anger. So misdirected anger in psychology is when you are angry at something or someone that you feel you cannot fully express or feel that. So you project it onto a more safe or acceptable proxy. And I think Jo-Ellen is receiving a lot of vitriol that is due for Brian the virus and not for Jo-Ellen. And what bothers me is when women are happy to take out other women and just do you're a whore and this and that. I mean, the names that Rulla was calling her. By the way, I watched the uncensored, unedited version on Peacock. Rulla said the F word like 100 times. And I'm not mad at it because I love an F word, but it undercut her point. And B, what it told me is that she had this visceral rage that was being projected onto Jo-Ellen. And she's just mad that Jo-Ellen brought out the truth, not understanding this was going to come out anyway,
Yeah. And clearly she also is totally fine co-signing that the woman that the mistress or whatever, the woman he had an affair with, she's crazy, right?
Oh,
she's crazy.
Right. Exactly.
And it's like, no.
Yeah, girl, don't do that.
Yeah. I had Larry, Bravo by Gaze on the podcast, and he goes, whenever a man calls a woman crazy, it's like, well, what did you do to make her crazy?
Correct.
Because you led her to believe something, and then you're pointing it out that she's nuts. And it's like, no, you told her all of these things to make her believe. We're going to find out next week or on this part 2 that she was given part ownership in his company to do Botox. I mean, maybe he was planning on having a life with her and a business with her and running off with her. And so yeah, she's probably like, why is your wife still around? Maybe he even told her that like, my wife and I have separated, or you never know what someone tells, the other person to make them enter into a relationship like that. So, I mean, he's guilty, I think, in all ways, shapes, and forms.
Oh, beyond it. He's guilty on paper. He's guilty by the Rhode Island State Police for placing a tracker on Rulla's car. Like, that's fact. He's guilty on paper for giving his mistress a part of his business. And it's like, you can't say that you don't care about or love a person. You've given them part of your business. When Andy asked the question in the preview, Rulla looked like she was going to be physically ill. Going back to the whole psychosomatic thing, I do think that what Brian's doing is making her sick. And I think you're spot on in terms of because she was married and divorced, which the fact that we just heard that at the end of the season, I think you're right, tells us that she has a lot of shame and guilt. But this time, I just think it's like she wants all the women to be a problem so that her family can stay together. And I have a lot of empathy for that. But at the same time, she has to understand how she's being part of that problem. Like calling other women crazy and you're this and you're that. It's like, well, you're carrying the patriarchy. Let's not do that. This anger needs to go towards your husband, but he's not a safe person because then if the anger goes to him, well, then she can't stay married to him if she really accesses that anger, right? So to me, that's the reason why she's just like putting it on other people because she doesn't want to break up her family. And I get that, but she's got some work to do because she was obnoxious this reunion, fully obnoxious. It was like enough already, bro. We get it.
Also, the nose job, like, I really don't like when people who I really thought she had a beautiful nose. And it's up to her. She gets to make these choices. I'm sure watching it on TV, like, it accentuates the things you don't like about yourself. But she had a beautiful face and a beautiful nose. And now she has one of those nose jobs that looks like Whoville.
Yeah, a slope. It looks like a slope.
It's not, it doesn't suit her. And I don't know. I just, but again, like, I'm sure her, self-image and self-esteem is in the toilet because her husband keeps stepping out on her. And what I think is interesting is that she was used to, and she keeps bringing it up, how like when they first started dating, he was obsessed with her. And so the fact that it changed.
Which is such a flag, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a good thing for your husband to be obsessed with you, unless it's just like they're always obsessed with you, right? Like, unless they're just like you a lot. But obsessed is a weird term to use.
Right. That's my
that
point.
Term is odd.
When someone says, oh, this person was obsessed with me, well, that's not a loving relationship. Obsession isn't love. That's actually the opposite. And obsession leads to really bad things happening, like psychologically speaking. When people are obsessed, it's like they want to own you. They want to, they don't know how to have that interaction.
And look at what he did. He put the tracker in her car, and the fact that she couldn't get it out of her head, like she went to the BMW shop and was like, hey, can you take this out? And they're like, no, that's a legal issue. You have to go to the police. And the fact that she's like, I have to go to the police? Yeah, because someone tracking you without your knowledge is illegal.
Yeah.
She was just like, can't we just deal with this without it being a thing? It's like, nope. It's like when people say, oh, can you bring an ambulance but don't put the sirens on? Nope, that's not really how that works. You don't get like a break from the law because it's embarrassing to you.
Right. But this is like what I'm saying, why she's doing all these things and making all these excuses. She just doesn't want to acknowledge that it's a thing. She doesn't want to acknowledge that her husband has betrayed her. Like, this was not just an affair. This was not just sex, forget about it. This man was in a relationship, gave this woman a part of his company. And I just cannot wait to see what Rulla has to say about that. But back to the nose job thing. And normally I never comment on women's bodies, but I agree with your point is that do plastic surgery, do whatever you want. But if you're doing it from a place of feeling less than and trying to be like, one of the ladies joked about, oh, well, Alicia, she's like, oh, well, it'll be like her husband's having sex with another woman. But she's like, why? I'm just saying, like she was like being funny, but it was so
but she
spot
wasn't
on.
joking. She was like, yeah, you have a new face. It looks different.
Yeah. She literally has a new face.
Woman. Yeah.
And I think it's because of, it's like, have we seen Brian Pontarelli? Can I just stand on a soapbox for 1 minute and say, what is wrong with any woman who is going to hurt themselves to be with this little troll of a man? What is it the West Wilson effect? Tell me what it is about this man that gets these women so hot and bothered, please, because I do not understand it.
Take a quick sidebar on West Wilson. And I saw this commentary somewhere, and I think it's so spot on, is West Wilson's different than Brian in that West Wilson figured out certain things to say that make women completely disarm and make them trust him very quickly. And one of those things is telling people that his mom is an OBGYN. And I thought that was so interesting because that was when I was disarmed by him on his first season. And he was talking about his mom being an OBGYN and what level tear he was when he exited her body. And I was like, oh my God, he knows that the levels of tears. Like, he must be so empathetic towards women that he, that his mom raised him so well, right? Like an OBGYN, like talking to him about consent, talking to him about all these things. And he learned, I think, pretty early on that saying certain things would get women to disarm. And that was one of them. And Brian's sort of the opposite. It feels like Brian doesn't know the right thing to say to get anyone to disarm. And he seems to be stumbling through his infidelity in a way that is just so clumsy and shocking that it's hard to believe. And that's why Jo-Ellen is like, why are you blaming me? This is obvious, right? He is like not even trying to hide it. And so it's just bizarre, but I get it. Like, Rulla is just not in a place mentally where she can accept the truth. But I do appreciate that the other women in the finale, when she's like, could someone tell Jo-Ellen to like lay off me? And they're like, you can tell her. Right. None of them agreed to be an intermediary. And I don't think that's even just because of reality TV and they wanted there to be the right moment. I think it's because they're like, no, you need to know how to speak for yourself. You need to be able to communicate with other people. You can't just hide away and have other people do your bidding.
But that's my beef about Rulla, is because what that is, that's manipulation. And at this reunion, we saw that the whole time, where it's like she'll say stuff under her breath. And you know what? I clapped for Jo-Ellen when she was like, what, Rulla? Say it to my face. Like, Jo-Ellen was keeping her foot on that woman's neck, which I appreciated. And honest to God, I would have done the same thing, because it's like, you're going to sit there and say passive aggressive things under your breath. This is the reunion. Like, Alicia or someone said to her, like, what do you think we're here to do?
Oh, that was
You
Jo-Ellen,
are in denial about your husband. You're in denial about yourself. You're in denial about your life. And because of that, she can't even be an authentic person because she's too busy just trying to hold things together that she can't hold together. And eventually that will break her. It will break her. And I hope she figures it out before it does break her. But I want to say your point about Wes Wilson is actually really brilliant. And
it wasn't mine. I read it somewhere and thought it was the best commentary I've seen, that he knows how to disarm women and then like mimics their interest and certain things to make them feel like closer to him.
Right. And that's why I called him predatory, because that is behavior that predators use when they're picking victims and when they are picking how to masterfully go about that. Because you're right, Brian Pontarelli, there's nothing masterful, smart, or intelligent about him, where West will play it smarter. And that's why West, to me, like, Brian is dangerous I think they're dangerous in different ways. And West is dangerous in that he can manipulate and use words to get women on his side for, like, he'll be fine forever. He's going to be like one of those serial killers that goes to prison and women are like, oh, what? You know, like, I fully feel like that's what will happen from here on out, like when he and Amanda break up, because they will. Unless they just get married and agree to be miserable forever, which I wouldn't put that past them either. But anyway, I feel like we need to move on from Rula and Brian, because there was so much interesting stuff. But speaking of, so Rula made a nasty comment to Jo-Ellen about, well, I don't have to take Ozempic to look like this like you do.
Yeah.
And then Jo-Ellen, she like pulled up her skirt and she asked Kelsey, she goes, does my leg look skinny? And I was like, oh, come on, man. Mandy, I gotta be honest. I'm just over. GLP-1s are really great. They're helpful medications for people in appropriate settings. I do not condone them as medically assisted anorexia. I can't. It's so insane that women, this is how some women are using Ozempic, that I can't.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's how Brian uses it too. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, microdoses it. And it's like, how good of a doctor are you even? Does that even work? Like,
so someone said yes. Someone says like small amounts of it can have really good effects I don't know. I'm no physician. I think that it's really hard to be on television, because people who are like very scary skinny in terms of they look like skeletons kind of look okay on TV, and people who are normal look big on TV. They always say the camera adds 10 pounds, but it really, really does. And so people aren't necessarily seeing themselves when they watch TV the way that they actually look, you know? And so I'm sure it's really
it causes
hard.
Like distorted self-perception.
And I think that that's what Jo-Ellen and all of them, Rula, look at her note, like all of it, it's really, really difficult to kind of have everything about you picked apart on television by everyone.
Oh, for sure.
I feel for them.
I feel for them too, but I'm just saying, like, I want these women to love themselves because they're beautiful and amazing women. And I want them to have self-love instead of, like, you know, trying to starve their bodies, you know, to lose weight. But the interesting thing, so Jo-Ellen, we got a lot of information this episode about Jo-Ellen versus Liz, which that was like something that I didn't necessarily see coming, but I want to get your you have a look on your face. Tell me what.
I saw it coming.
You did.
Liz never getting over that. It was pretty clear to me.
Liz loves to hold a grudge, and Liz, I'm going to be honest, Liz scares me.
Oh, Liz scares the shit out of me.
She like was talking to, so when Liz is talking to like her friend Alicia that she's known since she was like a baby, basically, and she was like, I sincerely apologize for this, but then went off on Alicia about how she faked her reaction in the car about the homeless thing. And I was like, Liz, you're not at all sorry. You just apologized, and now you're saying that she was being dramatic and histrionic for effect of the camera? Like, what are you... Liz was so mean this reunion that I was like, it's not a good look.
I think, is she's paranoid. And she thinks
She's
people are out
very
to get her.
paranoid.
And so
Yes.
she thinks that there was some sort of conversation in advance that they were going to bring up something on camera to corner Liz and make her look bad. The thing is, if that was true, why wouldn't Liz not give in to it?
Well,
Liz
right.
made herself look bad.
That's right. That's right. Liz
made
did
herself
that
look bad.
all on her own. When she pulled Jo-Ellen's hair and then pushed her chair, I was like, that's psychotic. And I don't even blame Jo-Ellen for threatening to punch Liz in the face.
Yeah.
And listen, I've been in an angry space lately, so I'm not trying to condone violence, but I'm just saying I get it. Okay,
I get
this
the
made me really
threat.
upset.
I
Angry.
wouldn't be okay if she actually punched her in the face.
Of course,
But the threat
of course.
it, I think she felt like she needed to draw a boundary. She also
if someone
should have
put their
stopped
hand-
touching Liz because Liz clearly was not answering to that. But it felt like she
For
was
sure.
trying to get Liz to love her. And she's recreating, and she's like, I'm not your mother. And that is true. Liz is very correct. Jo-Ellen needs to get over trying to win Liz over. What Liz's issue is that she's made all of these assumptions about Jo-Ellen. And I don't think any of those things are true, but she has made them in her head true. And so she's like, Jo-Ellen's trying to make me look like this. She's not genuine. She's, whatever it is. And it just makes Liz look bad. I do think Liz, she's got some sort of weird mafia thing going on. And whether she's part of it
how it
or
feels,
adjacent to it, it feels like, killing off people would be no big deal to her. And she acts like she doesn't need any friends and that she's fine on her own. And it just, she looks like a nasty piece of work, honestly.
She really does. When she was telling
across.
Jo-Ellen, she's like, you're not going to win this, doll. I was like, ew, yuck. Because here's the thing about Jo-Ellen that this was so interesting based on what you said too, is that when we found out that Liz and Jo-Ellen spent Mother's Day together, and Liz said to Jo-Ellen, you embody something that my soul rejects. And then Jo-Ellen said, you're a narcissist just like my mom, and I look for love with you. Maybe I need to distance myself. And so when you say that Jo-Ellen needs to get over it, my response to that is this is a trauma response that she has to understand what it is, and then she has to change it. Like, relational dysfunction will get repeated subconsciously until we understand how and why we're choosing people. And I 1,000% feel that Jo-Ellen does and will choose women who embody the same characteristics as her mom to try to convince them to love her, to play out this trauma response, because that is something that happens very frequently. When we have parents who don't give us the love we need, we will end up begging people for us to give us the love that we need. And so I thought that was, for me, like I could write a dissertation on that one sentence at the reunion, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly what she's doing. But I'm grateful that Jo-Ellen's starting to figure it out, because she will really have to work very hard. Like, I call it, when we do this with trauma, it our neural pathways, it's like a factory default setting. And it really takes a lot of hard work to get out of that pattern, to actively choose people who are not narcissistic, who will attend to our needs. But Jo-Ellen's, it takes a lot of work, therapy, and some other things to really work on that. But I hope she does, because I think she's right. Because Liz's personality, I'm like, oh, you spent Mother's Day with her? That's a wild choice. Wild.
Yeah. And then to say that you're not friends. You're not that close. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's a crazy thing to say. That is the definition of gaslighting, like making someone think that they're insane. Like spending Mother's Day together and saying that I know it's a hard day for you and being there for that person. And then saying to that person, well, we were never that close. Like, that is wild. And so then Jo-Ellen's questioning everything and she's confused.
Which she should.
She feels very hurt. Now, the person who I think should feel hurt and everyone should apologize to is Rosie. Because
let's
the amount of like what they were talking about before she started filming, it sounded like she was cast, right?
Correct.
And they don't like that she was cast. And then Ashley was cast with her.
Yes.
They all were cast, okay? The thing that I think they don't like is maybe other friends of theirs didn't make the cut and Rosie did. And so they're pissed.
Sure.
And so they're looking up stuff about her. They already decide they don't like her. They're believing a bunch of stupid rumors.
They had a nasty mean girl group chat about her.
Exactly.
Which I was like, come on, dude.
Really, really crappy. And I could tell
so gross
that had happened by the way that Rosie reacted to Kelsey. I thought that it was an overreaction and she couldn't take a joke. And at the same time, I understand why she couldn't take a joke, because this was like the very, very final nail in the coffin for her. She was over it. She was pissed off. She was sick of them bringing stuff up. A lot of it, I don't think, ever aired, of the stuff that they were doing and questioning her about. When Jo-Ellen said that Rosie was in this police report with the coach that had a DUI and then could not produce the police report and had never seen the police report, I am sorry, Jo-Ellen, if you're going to look for proof, you better come with actual proof. We want to see a video. We want to see something.
That's right.
You didn't have anything. And so you need to get over it. And you need to get over the fact that maybe these police officers or whoever they said they were lied to you, because there is no actual evidence after 3.5 years, 4 years of this rumor that Rosie has been dealing with. No one has ever tied her. There's no photographic evidence. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing to tie her. And so when they can't get over that, then they go to the next rumor about her. And they just don't like her. And it's okay if they don't like her, but at least try to get to know her before you decide that you don't like her.
Well, and that's the clicky part of it, which it's like, and what kind of click from hell is it, by the way, that they're just mean? These girls are mean.
They're very mean to Rosie.
So I could tell, usually like by people's reactions, right? If someone has a reaction that's disproportionate to the situation at hand, that usually tells me there's something else going on. And I could tell there was something else, but because of the fourth wall stuff and filming a new show and blah, 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 like no one wanted to say it. But clearly there were issues from the start when she was cast, the way they talked about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So exactly what you said, it's either their friends didn't get cast and Rosie did, and they clearly just don't like her. But I think like how you behave when you don't like somebody does say a lot about your character. And this is the one piece where Jo-Ellen really loses me, because for the most part, I think Jo-Ellen is someone with a good heart, but was very wounded by people who were supposed to love her and didn't. But then there's like a very dark underbelly to her as well that, in my opinion, these are things that happen when we allow our trauma to lead us and we don't work on it. We can rot like bad fruit. That's kind of the analogy that I use. So I think Jo-Ellen can be a good person, but I think she has to decide what kind of person she wants to be. Because being with Liz, with her, and with Kelsey, it's just like mean girl central. And I cannot handle that. It's so gross to me.
And I feel like Kelsey, I don't want to be mean. I don't think she's the brightest bulb. Right. And so she is mismatched with Rosie. Like when Rosie reads her, it is deathly. It is like so painful when she was like, you know, what did you say? Like suck dick for a living. And like, when did I ever do that? And she's like, well, for the last 10 years, your only coworker was a girlfriend in Florida. I was like, that is a read unlike anything I have ever seen on like a white.
That was an Atlanta
Real
read.
Housewives,
That
right?
was
That was like an Atlanta read. That is was rough. And
that's to your core kind of read that you're like, who?
And then when she was like, do you like suck your husband's dick? And she was like, no, that's not really my thing. And she's like, okay, I'll call your like divorce attorney. That also is so ridiculous. Like that, Rosie can't keep a man, or the idea that you can't keep a man unless you do certain sexual things is, Kelsey is like lifting up the patriarchy with every
breath she takes.
Yes.
Literally.
It is wild. And I don't think she means bad, but I do think she was set up. Like, I think maybe Liz or other people had like dropped hints about rumors about Rosie, and then Kelsey ran with it. And they were like encouraging her because they knew she would not be dumb enough to go along with it. But they knew that no one else wanted their hands to be dirty with the Rosie stuff. It was like they let it be Kelsey, but you know the rest of them were part of it. I think.
Oh my God, of course.
And the fact that Alicia actually got to know Rosie and was like, oh wait, actually I like her. I'm done with this.
And you heard that they called her a flip-flopper. That was how I knew they were mean girls too. I was like, Liz, Jo-Ellen, and Kelsey are mean girls who just won't give Rosie a chance. And here's what's interesting is that we find out Rosie and Jo-Ellen share similarities in terms of like with narcissistic mothers.
Yes.
And that's where I think you're right, is that if Jo-Ellen gave up the mean girl shtick, if she understands that she's choosing the wrong people in this group, I think she can really be successful, because Rosie is a good example of, Rosie and Jo-Ellen are good examples of, you have a narcissistic mom and how does it impact you, right? You feel profoundly not heard, not validated, misunderstood, but they act that out in completely different ways. Rosie will like ferociously defend herself, but she's not going to try to tear other people down. Whereas Jo-Ellen, she will do both. And that's also very common. It's just personality differences and things like that. But what I found so interesting is that Liz called Jo-Ellen a psychopath. She goes, well, first of all, Jo-Ellen said normal people can be touched. Like when they were talking about how she shouldn't have touched Liz.
I agree with that. She shouldn't. After the first time she was told, don't touch me, then you need to respect the boundary that someone has over their own personal space and body.
Yes. I don't like when people are like, oh, well, what's the big deal about touch? It's like, well, to some people, it's a very big fucking deal. So just don't put your hands on people. We don't need to comment on people's looks. We don't need to put our hands on people. That's just like period, end of sentence. But then Liz said about Jo-Ellen, so says the biggest psychopath on the planet. And then Jo-Ellen says, I own that I'm a psychopath. And I was like, girl, what?
I think she's been told that she is crazy by her mom and by other people in her family. And then she's like, going to make that. She's like, okay, well, if you're going to call me that, then I'm going to be it.
That's 1,000%. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that,
but I also don't like. Fine, I'll show you. I'll be the biggest psychopath you've ever seen.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because it's like, again, when you grow up and you don't get the love that you need from parents, you learn that you're the problem child, right? Very early on. And this is from personal experience too, right? You're the black sheep if you speak out. You're the black sheep if you react to an unhealthy system, right? Jo-Ellen was painted with this brush because she reacted to the fact that her mother is a narcissistic mother and won't watch her children unless she says something nice to Andy, which I'm like, well, you just confirmed that this is, you're exactly who your daughter says you are, if that's the kind of shit that you're going to pull. But I think you're exactly right that it's a trauma response where she's been told she's bad so often that she's becoming bad. And that's what I mean, where she can go one of two ways. I think she's at a crossroads in her health and development. She can become the person who I think she's meant to be, which is not a psychopath. Because a psychopath, let me be clear, it's an individual characterized by a persistent lack of empathy, a profound absence of remorse or guilt, and impulsive or manipulative behaviors. They're often highly egocentric, and they mask these traits with superficial charm to exploit others for personal gain. Now, that describes some Bravo Labs. I don't think that describes Jo-Ellen. And the fact that she was so quick to take on that role, to me, in my opinion, that was a trauma response. 1,000%. So, okay, as we're getting ready to land the plane, what were there other major things that you wanted to say that we didn't get to talk about?
No, other than I really appreciated in the preview, Jared, of all people, Ashley's husband, was giving Brian advice and saying, you just have to tell her everything.
Right.
And
that's right.
It was just so funny because, like, he's just like, you just need to be honest with your wife. I'm not sure why you keep messing this up. If you're just honest with her, things will work out. And it's like, maybe in your marriage, Jared, maybe in your marriage.
Because like Jared and Ashley seem just like lovely people. I mean, we don't know them very well, but they seem like sweet.
I've known them over a decade. So I have been watching them when they were on Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise. They are kind people who have stayed friends with the people that they met on those shows. That is not easy to do over a decade. To have all of those friends and to stay friends with them and to be there and show up for other people, you know, It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, but you can tell Ashley, she's just like, when Rulla was going off, her face, she was like, I have never seen this level of dysfunction on a show. Where am I? What is going on?
I don't think she's ever seen it ever, like in life.
Probably you're right. Yeah, ever in life. But Liz and Jo-Ellen and Kelsey are like, well, hold my beer. Let me show you how wild this can get.
Something that Ashley said I really, really loved in the beginning.
Tell me.
She started crying about how wonderful a friend Rosie is to her, and almost talking about the sacrifices that Rosie makes to like hang out with her and her kids, because it's not easy for Ashley to like get away from her kids. And so like, she goes to music class with me. She like plays in the park with my kids. She's like on her hands and knees with them. The fact that she recognizes that that's not necessarily like what but Rosie's like, no, I do it. It's fun. We have a great time. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was really beautiful that she recognized that Rosie kind of goes out of her way to fit the friendship into what works with Ashley's time. And Ashley's so grateful for it. And I think verbalizes that probably pretty often. She's very good at explaining like when she's, thankful and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was beautiful because as a childless person who's friends with many friends who have young children.
Same. Yeah.
I do a lot of those things. And it's nice when it's acknowledged. And it's not that I would rather just do things without kids. I mean, sometimes it's nice to be without kids, but it's more like I want to participate in your life. And if your life involves these small children, I want to join that. I want to be part of it because I care about you. I care about your kids too.
And that's why at the beginning I brought up what I did about you spending so much time with children that aren't yours. Yeah. And this is a really nice way to actually bring the points together is that, when we love people that are our friends and we adapt to their life and we love their kids like they're our kids or, support them in those ways, I think that's really, really beautiful and sweet. And I'm actually grateful you brought it up because it was probably the only really nice moment from the reunion. That was actually so sweet because they really do have this kinship. And again, it's breaking that rhetoric that women who don't have kids are somehow less than or don't know how to love children. It's like that couldn't be further from the truth. We put ourselves in positions to try to love other people's children. And I think that's really important. So, because the thing that I'll end on about this is that Rulla made that nasty comment to Liz about you have to birth the child. It has to come out of your...
so weird.
Well, it's weird because Rulla thinks that she's the center of the universe. And she isn't, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing, and that's a personal trigger for me, I'm going to be honest, but nothing pisses me off more because what about all the parents who are, step parents, adoptive parents, surrogate parents? There's a million ways to love children without having them pushed out of your body. And I just am so fucking tired of that rhetoric. And it just completely, completely disliked Rulla after that. I'm like, you're showing me nothing that is honorable or admirable. And I think that's a shitty thing to say, even though Liz scares me and I'm not a huge Liz fan. You just don't say that. That's just not right. It is.
And there isn't really a difference. Like Liz became a stepmother and it sounded like the children's like biological mother was not around or involved. And so like she wasn't just a stepmother, even though that's her title. Yeah. It wasn't like a part-time thing. It was a full-time thing with 3 like, probably middle school age girls. That is not an easy time to parent children and to kind of step into that role. And so, I mean, not that it's ever an easy time, but they clearly have a fondness for her. And so,
Liz showed up for those kids.
Liz showed up for those kids, and she mothered them. And therefore, she is a mother. And so to say that, like, because she didn't birth them, that makes no difference.
It's like, I don't know if Brian is making her brain cells just die. I'm not sure what goes on.
Rulla comes from a background that is a little bit more old school. And I think that she would, I think she'd get along really well with like Teresa Giudice.
So yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of a thing with Jen Aiden. It's just, it's the way that they see the world. It's the way that they were raised and it's the way that they feel comfortable and they just have certain things that are their truths that they kind of stick to, because if they have to let go of those things, it doesn't allow their world to make sense. It no longer makes sense to them.
Right. But inherently, that's narcissism and ego, right? Like, can we just acknowledge that? Yeah, that's ego and narcissism. So it's like, well, okay, good luck to you. Good luck to you. Okay, so thank you, Mandy. This has been wonderful. Please tell everybody where they can find part 1 of the podcast, where we're going to talk about pretty much everything else.
Well, you can find me at Mandy Slutsker on Instagram, and I'm on Threads. And you can find part 1 of the podcast on Is This Real Life with Mandy Slutsker anywhere one listens to podcasts.
Yes. And as always, please, so not only check out Mandy, check her out on Instagram, check out Is This Real Life. Please give us 5-star reviews. We would be so, so, so grateful. And can't wait to bring you another M&M hour. I hope you've enjoyed this hour. So for today, I'll send love to you and yours and say ta-ta for now. Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.